This is the Clark Connection Podcast, your weekly dose of inspiration and power. We'll dive deep into the stories and strategies that ignite personal growth and entrepreneurial fire. Join us as we empower you to take control, level up your leadership, and build the life you deserve. Get ready to rise, to thrive, and to finally become the leader of your own destiny. Let's go.
Welcome to the Clark Connection Podcast. It is great to be with you here. I'm your host, Aaron Clark, aka The Coach. And man, do we have an excellent episode for you guys today. Gonna have special guest on here, Matt Holt. He's the business analyst for Next Level Solutions. And there's so many cool things that we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, gotta give a quick shout out to my sponsors. First, I want to thank Bobby with the Comfy Quest LLC. They hit her up for all of your massage therapy, craniosacral needs. Then we got Wayne with 7K Metals. They're looking to buy gold, silver, hit Wayne up. Andrew with Automate Integrate Professional Services. That's a pretty cool one. That Andrew can do a lot of cool things for you business-wise as well. And then we've got C&J Embroidery. Any of your embroidery needs, did a great job with my shirt here. And then we've got Joseph with Landscape King. Hit him up for anything you need as far as landscaping goes at your house or your business. Joseph is the king. Also, if you are looking to get in touch with me, maybe you're looking to connect with me via social media, that's at coach_A_Clark. Or you can reach me at the Clark Connection Podcast on all social medias, or via my website, www.coachaclark.com. Hit me up on there, and I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. It's always great to be in touch with you guys. And so let me quickly introduce Matt before we bring him on. Like I said, Matt Holt, he is the business analyst and recruiter for Next Level Solutions. He's a former educator, spent 10 years in the education industry, that has a background in youth ministry and community service. He was the volunteer coordinator in Katrina Recovery Service after Hurricane Katrina down in New Orleans. Also a singer and a songwriter. A great friend of mine. Let's go ahead and let's get connected with Matt. And Matt, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Aaron. Been looking forward to it.
Yeah, and so we were kind of catching up, doing a bunch of other stuff before we really got in going. But really want to kind of dive into, you guys are offering some cool stuff at Next Level Solutions. But first, what is Next Level Solutions?
So that's a great question that I get asked all the time. And so what I like to tell people is we are a back office support organization for small and medium-sized businesses. We have several different areas that we help folks out with in their back office, from accounting to HR services, as well as technology implementation. And recently, we have added doing recruiting services for businesses. So helping people find the right people to work in their business.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So accounting, that's pretty self-explanatory. That you help
accounting and bookkeeping.
Yeah, accounting, bookkeeping. Yeah, you keep people like me straight.
We try.
We do make your job hard. But
that's
why we keep you around.
We like to say we really specialize in helping businesses clean up their messes. That's one of the things that we've gotten really good at over the years.
Yeah, and business owners, we tend to like to create a lot of messes. We're good at that.
Well, and the truth is that most business owners are really good at whatever it is they do. In your case, you're a great business coach, but it doesn't necessarily, but a lot of business owners are not necessarily good at the day-to-day tracking of their business processes. That's not what they went to school for. So that's where we come in, because that's our specialty area.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I tell a lot of people is whenever they are getting into business for themselves, you might have been great at sales, but hey, when you become the business owner, when it's your business, not only do you do sales, you also clean the toilet, do the books, they order that, and do just all the back door behind the scenes stuff. So yes, they can be quite a lot.
Yeah, and most people, that's where they need the help.
Yeah, and so accounting, bookkeeping, and then the technology implementation. Like, what all type of stuff is that?
So, for the most part, we're not an MSP. We're not helping companies, with their cybersecurity or their firewalls or developing their website. We have people that we work with that we can farm that stuff out to. But what we're mainly doing is we're helping people put in place the right technology to streamline their business processes. And then sometimes folks have different programs that they're using, but those programs might not talk to each other. They might not play nicely together. And so we have developers who can help integrate and make programs work well with each other.
And so what's like an example of something like that, where you say the right technology and getting them all to talk?
So, for instance, most people are using some kind of accounting software like a QuickBooks, but they might have another software that, is specifically designed for whatever their business. Maybe they're in the construction industry, and maybe what they use for their accounts payable and their accounts receivable is something specific to construction, but it doesn't integrate with QuickBooks, which they're using for their overall accounting. So we have developers who can make those things work together.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, because I was like, well, what do you mean the right technology if you're not like doing all the, what did you call it, the IT stuff? So it's more like you're talking about getting them set up with like QuickBooks, or if I'm not big enough to need QuickBooks, I could use Slowbooks.
Well, there are a lot of different accounting, software programs out there. QuickBooks Online tends to be the go-to for most people.
Yeah, and a lot of people are familiar with it, so it's relatively easy to use.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay, so now, do y'all have like other, just because we're on the accounting side, like besides QuickBooks, do you have other things that you would recommend to other people to use?
I mean, like I said, QuickBooks is sort of the biggest standard program these days. So it's mostly what we recommend folks use, because it's what's used widely across the board. But there are other platforms out there, and we have clients that use other platforms, and we have folks that are familiar with that. So
all right,
does not have to be QuickBooks, that's for sure. Sage is another big one that's out there that we use with some of our clients. So
okay, gotcha. And so you just make sure that it's going to whatever. If I was doing it for my company, you would be making sure, all right, Aaron, you don't need that one. You need this one. It's going to be do more what you need, better price.
Yeah, and I mean, even within QuickBooks, there are different levels of QuickBooks programs that you can purchase, and not all businesses, for sure, not all of them meet the highest level. So sometimes the base level QuickBooks will be good enough especially for a new business. So we can help with that kind of, help get those things in place.
No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then you said human resources, like how what all do y'all do for your clients and customers?
So with human resources, I mean, a lot of businesses may not have an up-to-date employee handbook, so we can help get businesses up to date with their handbook. They may need guidance around hiring procedures. What is compliant these days, making sure businesses are compliant with all of their hiring processes, and those are laws that change on an annual basis. So it's really important to have people who are staying up to date on that kind of thing within a business. And a lot of companies just don't have the bandwidth to keep track of all that stuff, so they can outsource that to us. We have people who are staying on top of it all the time and make sure that businesses have the right things in place to be compliant.
And now, do you have any laws or any new laws that people may not be familiar with that they should know about? Or
well, there's always things popping up. There was one recently which had to do with reporting to the federal government, and it's gone back and forth, and currently it's not being enforced. But we were, notifying our clients, daily practically, about whether or not they would need to get this information sent in, because there were heavy fines involved if you didn't. And it had to do with protection of companies, making sure there wasn't fraudulent activities going on. But it was pretty involved in terms of understanding it and understanding what was required of businesses. So we were getting a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was going to, then when you started talking, I was like, oh, I remember this one. Did they ever make that one go into effect, or did it go away? And then you answer that question.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't remember. That was back and forth.
Yeah, as of now, it has gone away.
So, and then that recruiting, that you said you help out with recruiting.
Yeah, so that's a big need right now for a lot of businesses. There really is a bit of a shortfall in the workforce right now, finding good people, and so we're just trying to help companies with that, and get good people into good positions with businesses where they can thrive.
It is, and that is it's so hard to find good people right now. And I hate to say that it's good people. You have to know what you're looking for, and I think that's the toughest thing, that as a business owner, hiring manager, all that good stuff. It's that learning how to properly get in touch with your potential employees.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we're helping companies with. We will actually meet with them and help them, develop the job description, because we're, pretty good at putting the right words in place to attract the right kind of, the right people for the position. So helping them develop, those job descriptions, doing the marketing, screening applicants, all of these things are very labor intensive, and a lot of companies just don't have the bandwidth to do all of that. And then one of the nice things with using a service like ours for recruiting is we also have built in a 3 to 6 month guarantee on all of our placements, depending on the salary range. So, if we get if we recommend a candidate and you hire them, and after a month they're not working out or something happens, then we'll replace them free of charge. So it is a nice little insurance policy for businesses, because if they spend all of their time and resources, that's just lost time and resources that they don't get back. So
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good guarantee if you're going 3 to 6 months out, depending on the salary. So yeah, I'd totally get that, because oftentimes you don't know until they actually step foot through the door if they're going to be a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, in most cases, you really don't until they're a few weeks on the job. So, but and that's we're putting the pressure on ourselves to make sure we get good qualified people who are going to stick.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. That's cool. That's real cool. Yeah, so and you guys help with accounting and bookkeeping, the technology, the HR, and the even recruiting. Man, that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be able to be a bit of a one-stop shop for small and medium-sized businesses, so they don't have to, go to multiple, people for these things. That they can find it all right here with our company. I mean, that being said, there are things we don't cover, but we have close partnerships with some MSP providers. We have close partnerships with some we do some payroll depending on how big it is. We also use some other payroll companies though that we can recommend for payroll. And then we do not have any CPAs on our staff, but we have relationships with many CPAs who can do the tax prep and all that stuff for the companies. But the benefit of using us for the accounting is we're going to hand that CPA a clean set of books that they're not going to have to spend a ton of extra time trying to sort through and get figured out.
Yeah, I was about to say they're not going to get it and go.
Yeah, that's right.
It always makes me think of what was the movie with Vince Vaughn? Dodgeball. He's like, "You kidding me? I got records."
Now you're going way back, Aaron. Haven't seen that one in a long time.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. That's what I always think about whenever the CPA getting somebody who doesn't have stuff organized. He just opens the closet and stuff is just falling.
That's right. And if a CPA's got to spend a lot of extra time, you're not paying a bookkeeping rate at that point. You're paying a CPA rate. So it really is much more financially advantageous to have those books in a good state when they get handed over.
Absolutely. And now and before we go into that, then guys, if you found value in what you've heard so far, make sure you give us a like, a subscribe, follow, leave a comment, tell us what you've liked best so far. And this continues to help us to bring great guests like Matt to the show. And so other cool stuff that you were talking about, was it the value system? Was that what you were telling me that you guys have started offering?
Yeah, so it's called Value Builder.
Value Builder.
Yeah. And before we jump into Value Builder, I do want to mention though that we are a local Baton Rouge business. We were started right here in Baton Rouge about 12 years ago, going on our 13th year now. Led by LSU alumni, and so we're proud to be local and still, most of our clients are local, although we do have a few out of state clients as well, as we've continued to grow.
Nice. Yeah. Go Tigers.
Yeah, so we have a pretty awesome network, of clients here in the Baton Rouge area. And it's really cool, as we continue to grow that net. I mean, the way that we refer our clients to other clients of ours for different things that they might need. And so it really becomes like, one big family doing business together here in Baton Rouge. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on is, creating a family type atmosphere where we get to know our clients really well. We have like over a 90% retention rate with our clients once they sign up with us for services. It often most of the time it turns into like a lifetime relationship. And we love that because we get to know our clients really well. They do become like family. It's something that we really enjoy about our business is it's not just business, it's also relationships. And it really, for us, feels a lot like a ministry as well, because we are helping small business. Most of the economic engine of our community is still to a large degree driven by small business. And so we are helping small businesses in our community be more successful, which thereby in turn helps our community be more successful. So for us, it is about more than just business. It's about improving our greater Baton Rouge community.
Yeah, and the cool thing, like you said, because y'all have so many other connections and whatnot, you really are like a one-stop shop, like you were saying. Because you need help over here, boom, you go see them. You need help over there, you go see this one. And being able to make that be the networker that y'all are to help whoever you got to help. I like that. That's
absolutely
awesome.
Yeah, that's something we really enjoy.
And so they're kind of moving and transitioning into that value builder.
Yeah, so get into the value builder. So this is a program that, the owner of our company got introduced to a few years ago, and it really helped him shape a lot of some of his mindset around, building the company, and how to do that in the most effective way. And it was started by a guy named John Warlaw, who wrote this book called Built to Sell a bunch of years ago, creating a business that can thrive without you. And the main concept of the book is, not that, a lot of business owners, they don't ever want to sell their business. And the owner of our business, Chris King, doesn't ever want to sell Next Level Solutions. He wants to leave a legacy, and have it, live beyond him. But you should always be thinking about, how can I make my business as value as possible? Because whether you one day, everyone at some point is eventually going to have to exit their business. Whether you leave it to somebody else, a family member, or a friend, or you do eventually sell it, you want to leave something that is as valuable as possible, no matter what. So you want to always have the thought process going of, how valuable is my company? Is there ways that I could make it more valuable? And that has to do with a lot more than just your financials. So I'm gonna, talk to folks here in a minute about the 8 different drivers of business value. Your financials are really only one of those 8 drivers. So there could be other things driving up or down the value of your business, in addition to your revenue and your expenses.
Interesting.
And, Aaron, I know you introduced me at the beginning of this as I am a former educator, so I do love to teach. I also love to learn. I'm a lifelong student. This was all something new for me when I came on as a business analyst with Next Level. So it was I went to, a series of seminars on this program. It was a great learning experience for me. Made me look at business in a different way. And so I'm just excited to share a little bit about it with folks here today.
Yeah, no, that's interesting now that you say, because I mean, I figured a lot would be based, your P&L, your profits and your losses, how much of your product do you actually have? What is, what is the revenue, all that good stuff. So interesting to find that out, to hear that.
Yeah, and of course, not to say that those things aren't important, because they are. I mean, to be a valuable company, ideally, you want to be profitable.
Right.
But there are businesses that are not actually making any profit, that might sell for a lot of money because of their potential for profits, and also just what they have built in terms of a client base. Because it's one thing to make a profit; it's another thing to build a company, and those things don't always align. Um, you could be reinvesting a lot of your revenue back into the business every year, which means you might not, at the end of the year, have a ton of profit on the books, but you may have hired new people. And so, that makes your business more valuable, having more bandwidth to take on new clients. So there's a lot of things that go into, and we'll touch on some of those things here.
Yeah, and so where do you want to go first?
Well, I think just a brief introduction to the 8 different drivers, and I will preface and warn people, they have kind of crazy names that aren't always self-explanatory. Um, so I'll just kind of briefly look at all 8, and then I will talk in more detail about 4 of them. So
Yeah.
we
For those
talked
of y'all
about.
watching, I did put all this up on the screen, so there'll be a lot of in and out that Matt was nice enough to provide us with slides. So
Yeah, look, I'm a visual learner, so if I like to try to help out the other people who are like me that are visual learners. So I think some visuals can always be helpful. But we talked about financial performance a little bit. That is one of the 8. Recurring revenue, which we'll talk about a little bit more. Something called monopoly of control, which we'll also talk about a little bit more. Growth potential, pretty self-explanatory. How much potential is there for your company to grow? The Switzerland structure, another somewhat strange named one that we'll talk about in a little more detail. Your customer score, how satisfied are your customers? Pretty self-explanatory, and very, very important. You want to be referred by your customers are your best source of future business. You want them to be satisfied with your service or product, so they refer you to other people. So that's a big one. Something called the valuation totter, which I'm not going to talk about in detail, but that has to do with your cash flow. How good is your cash flow? Are you able to? Are you creating enough revenue to keep your business going? Steadily, or are you sometimes having to borrow money because you're short on cash? So cash flow, they call that the valuation teeter-totter. And then finally, hub and spoke, which has to do with how central is the business owner to daily operations of the business. And we're going to talk about that one here in just a second.
And so I guess that there's differences then between talking about managers versus the owner on that, or is that
So that's one of the slides I had in here. One of the things that John Warlaw talks about right at the beginning of the book, Built to Sell, is there are different metrics for owners than there are for managers. Managers are more focused on, the ingredients of the business, the things that are, going on daily, your revenue, your expenses, what you have, in terms of supply, but the owner, those are things managers are supposed to be concerned about. Even, your employees. Do you have open positions? Do you need to hire? Are you overstaffed? Again, those are manager type things. The owner should always be looking at the big picture. What are those ingredients making? What is the meal that we have at the end of the day? And, is it something that's going to be attractive to other people or not? So, really owners should always be looking at that from that 10,000 foot view of the business.
Yeah, I mean that one reminds me of one of my mentors. That's what he's always talking about is that, Aaron, you can't grow your business if you're working in your business. You have to be working on your business. And talking about that be up in the, what is it? That big jet airplane. Be up there. That 10,000 foot view.
And of course, that is one of the biggest challenges, especially for small business owners, to try to step back and not be the decision maker about everything, to delegate things out to other people, to trust your team, with things and not be micromanaging. It is a big, and to have the ability to hire those talented people to take over those things. So that you can be not working in your business as much as on your business.
Yeah, I was about to say, and then once you get it going, you can go play golf on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, not have to wait until Saturday and Sunday.
That's right. And now, of course, and it does circle back, because to make good business decisions as a business owner, one of the things you need is good data about your business. And we tell people all the time when they start talking to us about accounting, you need to have those good numbers at not every few months, but every month, to look at, where you're allocating your resources. Is it, are you being strategic with the decisions you're making based on good financial data? And that's, if you don't have good accounting in place, you're not going to be able to do that.
No, because if you don't know what you got, how do you know what you can do?
That's right. That's right.
And so, I know you said we were going to talk about 4 specifically out of the 8 that you mentioned.
Yeah, so if we want to roll forward with that next slide about, I believe, what was up first, the hub and spoke.
Let's see.
Yeah, so we're gonna dive into those 4 a little more detail. Yeah, so hub and spoke, and this is like I was just saying, this is the biggest challenge for most business owners. Being at the center of their business, being pulled in a lot of different directions, constantly being called on as the decision maker for things. I really feel for a lot of business owners, because I think it has got to be, it's a 24/7, often a 24/7 thing that you've signed up for. You don't get much of your own time anymore as a business owner. You're shaking your head.
No, you sure don't. But I mean, it's like one that I've seen, because I totally relate to that picture that was just up, because when the new manager that was trying to get back, that was one thing I did with my athletic teams, is I always set up other people to serve kind of as my buffer, because I knew if I was dealing with, hey, do we have practice today? What do we wear to the game tomorrow? What do we do to this? I couldn't do what all I needed to do. So I always set my seniors up to be in charge of everything else. I would tell them all at practice, don't call me until you called your senior. But I mean, there's certain things now that, even looking at that, I kind of giggle at, because when stuff gets brought to me, I'm like, what do you want to do with that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, huh? I'm like, what do you want to do with it? Like, why do you need me to make that decision? That's what I'm paying you to do.
That's right. And
Make the decision.
Yeah. And for a lot of folks, it takes real training to get them to buy into that kind of mindset, because most people who are, who strive for leadership positions tend to be, perfectionists, and tend to be people who like to be able to get a lot of stuff done, and tend to be sometimes workaholics, and so it's hard for them to set their own boundaries, and it's hard for them to pull back from wanting to have their hands in everything. And so it really does take a very intentional effort, because you have to, and I think one of the things that will go off for like a light bulb for a lot of business owners is you have to know that when you're getting involved, when you're staying super involved in every aspect of your business, guess what? You're actually devaluing your business. Because if you one day decide, I'm going to sell this thing, a potential acquirer does not want to buy a business that they clearly have to be in the day-to-day running of. That is not going to be attractive to them. A potential acquirer, an investor, wants to be able to buy the company, put a few people in charge, and sit back and let it do its thing. They want a well-oiled machine. They don't want to have something that they're going to have to be, 24/7 involved with themselves. So you're devaluing your business as an owner if you don't put other people in charge.
Yeah. And so I guess that's is that where this next one that you had, the signs of the owner's trap?
Yeah, and that's something they talk about, it's the owner's trap. Once you are, built into being the person who interfaces with the customers on a regular basis, being the primary person who is out selling your business, being the only person who can really get your service delivered the way that, it needs to be delivered, you're now in the owner's trap. It's going to be harder and harder for you to back out of those things if you haven't trained good people to do those things.
Right. And then you hit on it a little bit earlier. It takes a lot of training and growth as a person to be able to develop that leadership skills to be able to do that. And so, guys, if you're looking for any leadership skills, training, and development, look, hit me up. All my contact information is listed below. And also make sure you can hit Matt up, because this is pretty cool. I'm really enjoying this so far. I know a lot of people in the owner's trap.
I'm sure you do. And look, I know that, the ownership of our company, they have coaches that they talk to regularly. That is a key component of, developing yourself as a business owner and leader, is getting that coaching. So I appreciate, what you're doing as well, Aaron. I know it's super important to a lot of people for them to grow.
Absolutely. And show me a successful person that doesn't have a coach.
Amen.
Or a mentor. But find one.
100%.
We're all learning from somebody or something.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. The closer the owner is to the center of that hub, or how central they are, how valuable or unvaluable your company can be. Man, that's wild to think about it.
Yeah, it really, it really puts a whole different spin on it, and I often, when I talk to business owners about that, you can see their expression just change. Like, wow, I didn't realize that by doing that, I'm actually devaluing my company.
That was exactly what that made me think, because it was a few months ago that I started realizing, like, man, I can't keep going like I'm going. I got to start. No, you make the decision. If you mess up, we'll fix it later.
Well, and that's the other thing. Yeah, it's going to lead to one person's only capable of so much. It's going to lead to burnout, and it's going to eventually lead to business failure if it's so heavily owner reliant.
Yeah. No, I loved this one that you'd had in there. Buyers don't want to buy a business that they're going to have to be the center of.
Yep. Bottom line.
And I mean, her face says it all right there. Like, wow, are you serious? We ain't doing this.
Right. So yeah, hub and spoke, super important driver of business value, and one of the more challenging ones, like we said, for a lot of small business owners.
Absolutely.
So what do we have up next?
Let's see.
The Switzerland structure. Well, we all know, or most people know, Switzerland is a neutral country. This is an idea about neutrality. The idea that your business should not be too dependent on any one customer, employee, or supplier. Again, as a company, if you have a customer that is 60% of your business's revenue, then you are too heavily reliant on one customer, and that actually devalues your business, because if you lose that big customer tomorrow, are you going to be able to operate? What are you going to have to do to make up? Are you going to have to lay a bunch of people off because you lost one customer? That's devaluing your business, being that heavily reliant on one customer. You want to be diversified across your customer base.
Yeah, and I was wondering that whenever I'd looked at the picture. I'm going to pull it back up again, because when you were talking about it, I was like, I wonder if this is talking about kind of like how Switzerland is neutral and they're kind of off on the side doing their own thing. But I mean, the strength right there is in the numbers. I'd rather have to go against one than three.
Yeah, so they basically say that, no more than about 30% of your business, if more than 30% of your business is coming from one customer, you're too reliant on that one customer. You really, and I really think they recommend, honestly, it should be more closer to like 15%. But that can also not just go for a customer, that could also go for an employee or a supplier. If you are getting, whatever you sell mostly from one supplier, then you're also in a danger zone there. If you can't think about functioning, without one of your employees, not that we want to think about people as being expendable, because your employees are, one of the most valuable aspects of your company. They say the two most valuable parts of any company are your customers and your employees. Probably your employees first. So
it's the most appreciable asset that any company has. I mean, they have the ability to grow your company. So you got to invest in those guys that make your company grow.
That's right. But you don't want anyone in your business doing a job that nobody else is capable of doing. You want to always be training the people in your business to be able to do each other's jobs if needed. Because, if somebody has to go out with a medical issue or something for an extended period of time, you don't want to have a major gap that nobody else can fill.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one that's important for us as leaders as well, Matt, to to actually have somebody who could step into our shoes. So, that's one that I'm always looking at. Who could do what I'm doing? Who can I help train to take this aspect? That way, if, like you said, I had something major happen, some medical incident or what have you, who could step in and replace me? Or who all knows enough to replace me? And I think that's one of the things that takes a big person to be able to say, I need enough people that can do what I do.
Absolutely.
So we talked about the hub and spoke, the Switzerland effect, and the next one that I have, let's see. Let me share my screen so we can get it up there.
Was it recurring revenue? Also a big challenge for a lot of different businesses. One of the ideal things for a business to have is a good source of recurring revenue, and that means, an income stream that is built in every month. So one of the big things that we see in modern industry right now is, everyone wants to offer you a membership. And there's a good reason for that. If they have you on a membership plan, they can count on your business, whether it's a yearly subscription or a monthly subscription, they know they have your business locked in. And that helps them set budgets and do all kinds of things. You're laughing.
Yeah. Well, that may be because, who was it? I don't remember which. It might have been, was it Paramount or Disney? I don't remember. Whichever one was hosting the Super Bowl on it. They had me for a little while because I kept hitting. I'd cancel and they're like, dang it, I forgot to hit. Here, we'll give you another free month. And I'd hit cancel. Oh, we'll give you another free month. And I'm like, dang it.
Oh yeah.
I think they kept me on for about 6 months.
If they can sign you up for a membership, they will offer you all kinds of perks, and everything else to get you in that membership plan. Look, Amazon Prime is probably the most brilliant thing that company ever came up with. All you got to do is $10 a month, and you're going to get free shipping, and but no matter if you use it or not, how many people do they have paying $10 a month?
A bunch.
That's right.
I think everybody. Every house in America.
Yeah.
How many houses are in America?
Right. Can you even be living and breathing in the 21st century without an Amazon Prime membership? That's a legitimate question.
I don't think so. That's how I get all my books, man.
it's kind of like your, it's your permission to exist card, being an Amazon Prime member.
Well, it comes with so many cool things. Like, hey, you can get all of your music on here, and you can watch videos, and we'll ship stuff to you.
Yeah.
$10.
Here's a good question. Does any gym have a pay as you use us plan?
Nope. If they did, they'd all be after January.
That's right. No, it's all about the membership. So, if you can build into your business, some kind of membership plan or subscription plan, you are making your business more valuable, because a potential acquirer loves to see a business that has built-in recurring revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's so we did this hub and spoke, Switzerland, reoccurring, and then the monopoly.
Yeah, so monopoly of control. We've all heard about a monopoly. That's when somebody pretty much has the market cornered on one particular type of business. You ought to always be thinking about how unique is your business. If you are the only one who sells, one kind of widget, then you're going to be more valuable. If you're in a consumer space where there's a lot of competition, and a lot of people doing what you do, that's not as valuable to a potential acquirer. That's why you could be a business that's not yet generating a lot of revenue, but if you have an idea that is very unique and seen as having lots of potential, you might get someone who's willing to pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah. No, and that's pretty cool. I'm definitely intrigued to find out the other four, man. I definitely have to get back on here and talk about that again.
Well, and one of the cool things with this value builder program, so there's a short, like 20-minute questionnaire that a business owner can take, and it will, kind of rank you on all these different 8 areas, and then give you an overall score between 0 and 100 about where you are in terms of business value. And so then they actually you can do an engagement with a value builder advisor, and they can kind of help you work through. They have a portal which that will address each of the 8 areas and help you kind of figure out, how can I get my score up? If you're really low, for instance, in the hub and spoke driver, it has some workbook kind of things that you can work through and figure out, how can I get more out of the center of my business? What kind of specific things can I do that will help get me more out of the center of my business so I can get that hub and spoke score up? And one of the neat things about it, they say, even without increasing your revenue or your profit margin, you can increase the potential value or price you could get for your business just by improving these different 8 areas. Without even improving your financials, you could get more of an offering for your company just by improving in these different areas.
Yeah, and I mean, even though you never look to sell the business, I mean, I've always been told, why do you build a business? To sell a business. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, and some people are, strictly in business for that. They're looking to, build up a company, make it as valuable as possible, sell it, and then maybe acquire another business with the proceeds they made from the first business. And a lot of people have done really, really well in the business world by buying and selling businesses. It's kind of like, the people who flip houses, right? You buy something that's kind of run down, you fix it up real nice, you turn around and you make a good profit off of it.
Absolutely. And so, as we're kind of winding down, getting close to time, one question I like to always ask everybody, because, Matt, I believe all leaders are readers, but not all readers are leaders. What would be one book that you would recommend that all leaders should read?
So I'm a big fan of Brene Brown. She kind of went viral a few years back when she did a TED Talk about being vulnerable, and she actually has a science background, and she's a scientist, and she analyzes data, and she herself admitted she is not into vulnerability, but she learned through analyzing a lot of data over the years about what made for good leaders and happy and generally happy people is that they were willing to be vulnerable with others. They were willing to, open themselves up, let others see who they really are, talk about things that are painful in their lives or, have been difficult in their lives. And that when people do that, they actually become much more their authentic selves. And when we perceive that we're dealing with people who are authentic, then we have better interactions with them than if we feel like we're dealing with people who aren't really authentic. So, so she really now she actually goes around, and speaking of coaching, she does seminars and workshops with Fortune 500 companies and helps teach their leadership how to be more vulnerable, and thereby building healthier corporate climates. And I think she gets paid quite well for doing those sorts of engagements.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one that I believe is the only way that you can truly connect with people is, as the leader, is to be vulnerable. I think too many leaders think, hey, I've got to be right all the time. If I don't know all the answers, I can't possibly be leading you. Right. But I mean, if we all were to stop and think right now, who were our favorite teachers? Who were our favorite bosses? They weren't the ones that knew all the answers. They were willing to share what they learned from mistakes they made to try to help you not make those mistakes. So yeah, good stuff. I've got that one on my list now to go get and read. And so maybe what's a book that you might have either or might be reading or just finished?
So I'm still kind of working on a book right now called Reasonably Happy. Yeah, thank you for putting that up. Dr. Terry Ellis, who's a gentleman from right here in the Baton Rouge area, and he works a lot with people who are struggling with addiction. But this book is based off the Serenity Prayer, which is central to the Alcoholics Anonymous program. But one of the things he talks about is, in the Serenity Prayer, there's a line that says, I'm seeking to be reasonably happy in this life. He says that in our Western culture, we have been sort of brainwashed into thinking life should just be big and amazing all the time. We watch all these amazing Hollywood movies showing us these idyllic pictures of what our lives should look like. And of course, social media feeds right into that mindset of everything has to be amazing all the time. Really, we should be content with just being reasonably happy. We don't need to be over the moon happy all the time. Life is full of difficult things and challenges, and that's to be expected. And that it can't just be wonderful and amazing all the time.
Hold on, your life isn't wonderful and amazing all the time?
Well, and that's the amazing thing about it.
I mean, mine is.
Whenever you see that just being reasonably happy is good, it feels more amazing all the time.
It sure does. It sure does. Yeah, and that's one I like to tell people, if you believe that my life is amazing and awesome all the time, I have some oceanfront property I want to sell you in Missouri.
That's right.
And I'm going to cut you a good deal today. But today only. Well, Matt, I appreciate you hopping on and sharing with us. It's been a lot of fun. If any of the listeners want to get in touch with you, how do they reach the Matt Holt?
Well, I have my email address there, Aaron M. Holt at nextlevelsol.net, or give a call to 225-330-8347. That's our office line, but I will get the message.
Absolutely. And all of that, guys, it's listed right there below. Matt, I appreciate you hopping on and sharing with us. We'll definitely have to do this again. Wow, what an awesome episode. Wasn't Matt fantastic? I tell you what, there was so many just cool things that we covered and we talked about in there. I was extremely interested and intrigued that had the value system that he was talking about. They're really, really, really cool. And so a couple of key takeaways that I had from there, and went ahead and shared it on the screen with you. Matt talked about what they do with Next Level Solutions is they help many business owners who they excel at in their field or at their craft, but they might be struggling with other tasks that they aren't good at or they just don't enjoy doing. He talked about the Value Builder program and how it helps businesses enhance their value and their legacy. There's a lot of different things that he talked about. There were 8 pillars of that. In building relationships with clients, how it's a priority for Next Level Solutions. And training others to take on responsibility is essential for growth. And having diversification across customers, across employees, and their suppliers, it's vital. You can't be dependent on just one person for too many things. One thing that Matt really emphasized was the recurring revenue, how important that is for your business and the stability that it provides in adding value to your business. We talked about leadership development, and this is one I'll talk about always. Leadership development, it's how you overcome, in this case, he was talking about the ownership trap and how that was the spoken hub and the central location for, how central is the owner. If the owner is makes all the decisions and does everything, it actually brings down the value of the company, of the business. But vulnerability, he talked about being vulnerable as a leader and how that helps to foster a better connection and authenticity between the employer and the employee. And the last one, continuous learning and coaching. They're essential for personal growth and professional growth. It's so important that, often I'll tell people that you don't have a processes and procedures problem. It's a learning problem. It's a leadership problem. That's often where we struggle. And so that if you're looking to get in touch with me, so let's say maybe you're looking to get some leadership coaching and training for you, your team, it could be at an event, it could be for whatever. They hit me up. I'd love to help you or your team. They be able to reach your personal goals, your professional goals. Look, all of my contact information, it is listed below. And remember, guys, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So keep leading, keep growing, and keep innovating. Until next time, stay inspired and connected, and I will see you on the next episode of the Clark Connection Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection Podcast, where my goal is to add value to you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. You can also connect with me via my website, coachaclark.com, or on all socials at coach_a_Clark. The links are in the description. Huge thanks to my sponsors, Wayne with 7K Metals, Bobby with the Comfy Quest LLC, Andrew with Automate Integrate Professional Services, Joseph with Landscape King, and Chris and Jess with C&J Embroidery. We look forward to bringing you more great content. See you next week.